Here's a Live Oaks game with the T-3485 platooned up with Ethan's Type 58 and Hardest 3601. This is another good demonstration of how useful it can be to aggressively push into town from either spawn, in this case from south. It's not a huge game, it's sort of a nice cruisy relaxed game, the best kind actually. So sit back and relax, I guess. As with my other recent Live Oaks videos, you're going to see me push into town with my platoon mates. We have quite a few tanks going south down to the rails, so that should be enough to hold them. If the enemy push like their entire team or something stupid through the rails, we can always come back for them. So I cut a bit of a corner there and risked getting hit, but thankfully they didn't have anything actually up spotting there. Su-85's lit, and so is the Covenanter. I take an auto-aim shot at the Covenanter and somehow hit him. So that removes two of their tanks from the game quite fast. And then I push in behind this KV-1S. I go around the other side of the block to him because I want to avoid him. I don't want to get hung up by puppies stopping and starting in front of me. Let's take a moving snapshot of that 1S, but it did bounce off him, but I think it 0 damage tracked him or something. So I set up partially side scrapes to try and cover this corner. Sure enough, the victim turns out pretty quickly. So my first shot bounces, but I know it was just bad shooting on my part that caused it, not any inherent need to use APCR, so I don't bother switching. 1S turns up and gives me sides. And the D5T 85BM will happily go through the side of the KV-1S at that kind of angle, quite happily. So our 1S pushes up, we've basically sort of collapsed in on these guys in town. You can see they haven't even entered it. They've been cut off at the edge of town, which is ideally what you want to do to the enemy team. It doesn't look like they send anyone to angled houses. So you can see me trying to edge in shots on this 1S, destroy his cover. He gets cleaned up by Hardest. And so that leaves 6 enemy tanks plus Artie that have never been spotted. And their Hellcat was last seen south. So the majority of their team obviously went south. They just lost to T-34 who drowned himself because puppies, I guess. So we begin pushing on their base. Obviously they're probably going to send somebody back, and sure enough, Chinokai shows up. He's not the only one though, so I'd go for a moving shot on him. Wasn't very well aimed, just whizzes over the top. I stop and take one, but my team get him before I do. Ethan poaching my kills, of course. The AT2's up, but it's shooting at somebody else, so I just sort of suppressing fire as I move across the field, take out the Artie. When I say suppressing fire, obviously it is intended to scare the puppies away, which it sometimes does do. The other thing it's intended to is just play the RNG. Roll the dice and see if I get a lucky pen somewhere I shouldn't, basically. I've had games which were won by the most idiotic RNG snapshots I've ever done, and really they shouldn't have happened, but... So it's always worth it if your rate of fire and your ammo capacity can support just taking shots at people as you drive around. Fuck, why not? So, Hellcat's the last tank on the side of the rails. So I push into him. I managed to fuck up my shot there horribly and bounce off his gun mantlet. In hindsight I probably should just rammed him, but I continue on. Their last Hellcat manages to take out one of our Hellcats, sort of a last gesture of defiance, but myself and Ethan turn up, and that is the end of that Hellcat. So not a huge game, 1261 damage, it's not bad. And, you know, 7 kills between our platoon. It's decent. We definitely carried the team, but I don't know if I'd call it an amazing match. But it's nice and just it's a nice leisurely play, showing the T-34's good mobility, good solid gun at this tier. The armor is not as flimsy as it seems. I don't know if you noticed earlier, but that second enemy KV-1S I started engaging actually bounced an AP shell off the front of my tank. He hit the hull, I believe, and bounced off of that. So it's not going to stand up to tier 8s with any regularity, but it does sometimes bounce things in its own tier that would reasonably be expected to make short work of it. Quite a good tank. I really enjoy playing it.